Evan Ward stood at the edge of his quiet ranch, holding a small bunch of wildflowers in his rough hands. The evening wind blew dust across his boots, and his old hat kept shaking on his head. He was nervous. He was excited. Today was the day his mail-order bride would arrive. He had waited months for her message, months for hope, months for someone who might bring warmth to his lonely ranch life. He imagined a shy human woman stepping out of the shuttle, smiling softly, maybe holding a suitcase. But when the silver shuttle finally landed and the doors opened with a loud hiss, she stepped out instead, not a gentle woman, not even a human, not anything close to what Evan expected. The figure who walked toward him was tall, strong, and covered in a long black coat that moved like smoke in the wind. Her skin had a faint silver-blue glow. Her eyes were sharp and bright like burning stars. 2 heavy pistols hung at her hips. Chains wrapped around her left wrist, broken chains, the kind used for dangerous prisoners. Evan blinked. His heart jumped. This was no bride. This was an alien outlaw. The woman looked straight at him, no fear, no doubt, only fierce confidence. But when she came closer, he saw something else in her eyes too. Panic hidden under steel, as if she was running from something. Or someone. She stopped only a few steps away from him. "You are." "Evan Ward," she said, her voice calm but tired. Evan felt confused. "Yes, and you are." She lowered her head slightly, almost like a bow. "Your wife." Evan almost dropped the flowers. "My what?" The alien woman didn't answer. Instead, she looked around sharply, scanning the sky, scanning the dirt road, scanning the fields. Her hand rested on one of her pistols like she was ready to fight at any moment. Evan felt his skin chill. Whoever she was, she expected danger. "Where's the woman I was supposed to marry?" he asked. The alien froze. Her jaw tightened. She didn't look at him when she spoke. "She isn't coming." Evan felt a heavy weight in his chest. "Why not?" The woman's voice dropped lower. "Because I came in her place." Evan didn't understand, but before he could ask more, the shuttle behind her took off with a roar, leaving dust flying everywhere. The sky darkened as the sun dropped behind the mountains. The ranch grew quiet. Too quiet, Evan tried to stay calm. "Look, miss, whoever you are, there must be a mistake." "There is no mistake," she whispered. "Only danger." The way she said danger felt cold and real. She took a slow step toward him. "My name is Crave." Evan's heart shook. He had heard that name before. A legend. A criminal. A gunslinger outlaw wanted across 5 systems. A woman said to be impossible to catch, and she was standing on his ranch. Kara looked at the broken chains on her wrist, then at him. "I know you are confused. But if I stay outside, they will spot me. I need to go inside your house." Evan stepped back. "Wait, who will spot you?" Kara's glowing eyes lifted to the dark sky. "Hunters, trackers, people who want to take me back." Evan felt fear crawl up his spine. "Back to where?" She finally looked at him with a heavy, painful expression. "To a master who thinks I belong to him." A cold silence fell between them. Before Evan could speak again, a strange sound echoed across the fields like metal scraping across the air. Kara whipped out her pistols so fast, Evan barely saw her hands move. She pointed them toward the darkness beyond the barns. "Inside," she ordered. Now, Evan hesitated. This was still his land. His home, his life. But when he heard another sound, a distant roar, mixed with engines, he knew this night was not normal. Kara grabbed his arm, not roughly, but with urgent strength. "If you want to live, Evan Ward, you go inside now." They ran into the ranch house. Kara locked every door and window with fast, precise movements. Then she took position near the front door, pistols ready. Evan watched her from behind the table. She stood like a soldier, like a warrior who had survived too many battles. Her body trembled slightly, not from fear, but exhaustion. She was hurt. She was hunted. And yet she stood guard for him. Outside, something moved. Something big. Something watching the house. Kara whispered, "They followed me." Evan whispered back, "Why here? Why to me?" Kara looked at him with tired, burning eyes. "Because I used your name to escape." Before Evan could breathe another word, 3 shadowy ships slowly descended near his ranch, lights glowing, engines rumbling. Surrounding the house, Kara raised her guns. The hunt had arrived, and the night had only begun. The night outside. Evan's ranch was not quiet anymore. Strange lights from the 3 ships painted the fields in blue and red. Shadows moved between the barns. Engines hummed like hungry beasts. But inside the house, Kara Vex stood firm, both pistols pointed at the door, her breathing slow and controlled. Evan stayed behind the kitchen table, trying to understand what was happening. Only hours ago, he expected a simple, peaceful marriage. Now an alien outlaw, one of the most dangerous names in the galaxy, stood inside his home, protecting it like it was her last safe place. Kara didn't blink. She didn't relax. She didn't even sit down. "You should rest," Evan whispered. She shook her head. "Rest is for people who are not hunted." Her voice sounded tired, but her eyes stayed sharp, watching everything, every shadow, every sound. Evan noticed a dark stain on her side blood, alien blood glowing faintly. But she didn't complain. She didn't show pain. She acted like being wounded was normal. Evan slowly walked closer. "You're hurt. It will not stop me," she said. "That doesn't mean you ignore it." Kara finally looked at him, studying his face like she was trying to understand something. "You are strange for a human." Evan frowned. "How?" "You see me bleeding," she said softly, "and your first thought is not fear. It is concern." "Because you're in my house," Evan replied. "Because you're someone in trouble." Kara blinked, surprised. It looked like she wasn't used to someone caring. Outside, a spotlight flashed across the windows. Kara's grip tightened on her pistols. Evan's heart jumped. "Who are they?" he asked. "Bounty hunters," Kara whispered. "Some work for money. Some work for power. All want to capture me. Why?" She didn't answer, not fully. "Because I ran away." Evan wanted to ask more, but Kara raised her hand, signaling him to stay quiet. Heavy footsteps crunched across the dry ground. Metal boots. Multiple. They stopped near the front porch. A deep voice shouted from outside. "Kara Vex, come out, you have no escape." Evan swallowed hard. Kara didn't move an inch. She didn't even breathe loud. Then the voice said something that made Evan's blood freeze. "Human owner of this ranch, give her to us, and we will leave you alive." Kara whispered harshly, "Do not answer." "I wasn't planning to," Evan whispered back. The tension grew tighter and tighter. The house felt small. The night felt heavy. The hunters waited, but Kara refused to step outside. After a minute, the footsteps faded a little. They were moving, circling the house now. Evan took a slow breath. "You can't fight them all alone." Kara didn't look at him. "I have fought many alone, but this time you're not alone," Evan said. "This is my land, my home, and I'm not letting strangers walk into it." Kara turned her head slightly, asked if those words touched her, but she didn't know how to respond. She lowered one pistol for a moment. "I did not plan to involve you in this," she whispered. "I thought I could hide for one night and leave before sunrise. And now?" She sighed. "Now they know I'm here, and they know you helped me." Evan felt fear, but also something else, responsibility. He didn't ask for this trouble, but now it stood on his doorstep. And he couldn't push her outside like she was nothing. "What exactly are you running from?" Evan asked. Kara closed her eyes for 1 second, then opened them slowly. "From the one who claimed me, claimed you. He believes I belong to him," she said sharply. "He branded me, chained me, controlled me. But I escaped. I will never go back." Evan looked at the broken chains on her wrist and felt a deep anger he didn't expect. Whoever did this to her was a monster. The lights outside flickered again. The hunters were gathering near the barn, setting up some kind of scanner. Kara saw it through the window and whispered, "They are trying to search my heat signature. If they find me." "They won't," Evan said. He grabbed an old thermal blanket from a storage box. He had used it for cattle during winter storms. Without saying much, he wrapped it around Kara's shoulders. She touched it slowly, surprised. "This will block the scanner," Evan explained. Kara's voice softened. "Why are you helping me?" Evan met her eyes. "Because someone should." For the first time, Kara's face changed. Her eyes warmed, just a little. Her hands shook not from fear, but from exhaustion she had been hiding for hours. "You should sleep for a moment," Evan urged. "I'll watch the windows." Kara shook her head weakly. "I cannot." "You can," Evan insisted. "You're safe here." Safe. A word Kara had not heard in a very long time. Slowly, carefully, she lowered her pistols and sat on the floor beside the door. Her head leaned against the wall. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes closed, but her hands still rested near her weapons. Evan stood guard for her. Outside, the hunters kept searching. Inside, for the first time in years, Kara Vex slept. The sky was a pale gray when dawn finally touched the ranch. Evan stood quietly near the window, watching the strange ships parked near his fields. Their cold metal bodies looked like giant insects waiting to strike. He had barely slept. He didn't dare sleep. Not while Kara Vex, the alien outlaw who had crashed into his life, rested against his wall with her pistols on her lap. She woke up slowly, her eyes opening like someone who expected danger the moment she breathed. Her hand instantly reached for her gun. "You're safe," Evan whispered. Kara looked around, checking every corner, every shadow. When she finally relaxed a little, she stood up. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For watching," Evan nodded. "They're still out there." Kara walked to the window and looked at the ships. Her expression hardened. She spoke in a cold, steady voice. "These hunters belong to the Jexer Syndicate. A brutal gang. They attack planets, villages, caravans. They capture slaves. They serve the warlord who once claimed me." Evan felt his jaw tighten. "They think they can just walk onto my land." Kara turned to him with a strange look. "Your land?" "Yes," Evan said. They crossed the wrong ranch. Kara almost smiled, but it faded quickly as engine noises grew louder. A second group of hunters arrived from the east side, riding hovering bikes that moved like wolves hunting prey. "They are too many," Kara whispered. "I don't want you to die because of me." Evan shook his head. "If they want to fight, this ranch has old tricks, and I know every inch of it." Before Kara could argue, a loud metallic thud hit the front door. Then another. The hunters were testing the lock. Kara stepped forward, raising both pistols. Evan grabbed his old ranch shotgun, rusty, but still powerful. Another thud. And the door burst open. 3 alien bounty hunters charged inside, tall, armored, with glowing visors. They moved like machines. Kara didn't move backward. She moved forward. Her pistols flashed with blue-white fire. The shots were fast, sharp, deadly. The first hunter crashed into the table. The second dropped his weapon. The third charged at her with a metal blade. Kara leaped sideways, rolled across the floor, and shot his leg in one smooth motion. The alien fell with a loud crash. Evan's heart pounded. She moved like a storm made of fire and steel. But as one hunter lifted his gun to ward her back, Evan fired his shotgun. The blast knocked the alien off his feet. Kara turned sharply, surprised. "You saved my life." Evan smirked slightly. "You're in my house. That makes you my responsibility." Kara didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Then they heard more footsteps, many more approaching from the outside. Kara grabbed Evan's wrist. "We must leave through the back. It's not safe out there," he said. "It's less safe in here." They rushed to the back door. Kara kicked it open and dashed into the open fields. Evan followed her, his boots hitting the dry ground hard. The morning light revealed the full size of the gang. Dozens of hunters. More ships. Drones scanning the sky. "This is a war," Evan said breathlessly. Kara nodded. "This is my life." A group of hunters spotted them and fired energy bolts, burning the soil. Evan grabbed her arm and pulled her behind a water tank. Kara fired back, hitting one drone with a perfect shot. It exploded in blue sparks. But Evan noticed something. "Kara, your side. You're bleeding more." She pressed her hand against her ribs. "The poison from my old wound is spreading. I must find medicine soon, or I'll slow down." He stared at her, shocked that even in this condition she was still fighting like a warrior. Evan pointed to the old barn. "There, we can hide and regroup." Kara agreed with a nod, and they sprinted together. Blasts hit the ground behind them. Dust filled the air. Inside the barn, Evan locked the door and shoved crates in front of it. Kara leaned against a wooden pillar, breathing hard. "We cannot stay long." Evan moved closer, trying to help her stand, but she pushed his hand away gently. "I can fight." But Evan shook his head. "You can barely stand." Suddenly, the barn wall shook as something massive slammed into it. Kara raised her pistol. "That's their heavy unit." Evan took a deep breath. Then he ran toward a large rope hanging from the rafters. "What are you doing?" Kara asked. Evan pulled the rope hard. A huge pile of old logs cut for winter came crashing down on the other side of the barn door. The heavy unit crashed through, only to get buried under the avalanche of wood. Kara blinked at him. Evan grinned. "Told you. My land has tricks." Kara stared at the fallen enemy, then at Evan. Her expression shifted respect. "You fight like someone who has lost something before," she said softly. Evan didn't answer. "Not today." Outside, more ships powered up. Kara whispered. "They won't stop. They want me alive. And they'll tear your ranch apart to take me." Evan looked at her, breathing hard. "Then we stand together. You and me." Kara's glowing eyes met his, and for the first time, she looked like she believed him. The battle for the ranch had only just begun. The old barn smelled of dust, wood, and danger. The heavy unit lay trapped under the fallen logs, but Evan and Kara both knew it would not stay down for long. Outside, the morning light revealed even more hunters gathering, their armor shining like metal beasts ready for the kill. Kara paced slowly, one hand pressed against her bleeding side. Her breathing was uneven. Every few steps, pain flashed across her face, but she kept walking. She kept checking her pistols. She kept listening to every sound outside. Evan watched her with worry. "You need to rest," he said softly. "I cannot," she replied. "They will attack again any moment." But Evan wasn't talking about the hunters. He pointed to the wound on her ribs. The glowing poison line had grown darker, spreading like cracked lightning across her skin. "Kara, "This is not just any injury," Evan said. "It's something else. Something deeper." Kara froze. For the first time since he met her, she looked afraid. She turned away, her voice low. "You don't need to know." "Maybe I do," Evan said, "because I want to keep you alive." Kara didn't speak. The silence felt heavy, filled with secrets she didn't want to reveal. Evan stepped closer, trying not to scare her. "Kara, who did this to you?" Her jaw tightened. She gripped her pistol so hard her knuckles turned pale blue. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "The warlord," she whispered. "The one who owned me." Evan felt anger rise inside him, sharp and unfamiliar. "Owned you? What does that mean?" Kara turned her face toward the sunlight leaking through the wooden boards. Her eyes reflected old pain. "In my culture," she said slowly, "children born with my abilities are taken by force, trained to fight, to kill, to serve." She lifted her sleeve. A mark burned into her skin glowed faintly, a branding symbol, carved deeply, cruelly. Evan's stomach twisted. "He marked you like cattle." Kara swallowed. "Like property." Her voice was steady but hollow. She wasn't telling him this because she trusted easily. She was telling him because the truth was finally too heavy to carry alone. "When I was 12, she continued, "the warlord chose me as one of his elite hunters. We were chained, trained, tested. Many did not survive." Evan noticed the faint scars across her arms, her back, thin and deep, like someone had cut her again and again while she was just a child. "I grew stronger," she said, "and more dangerous. They told me I was born for battle, born to kill, born to obey." Evan clenched his fists. "And you escaped." Kara nodded. "One night I did something no slave ever tried. I disobeyed. I refused a mission. For the first time in my life, I said no. And he punished you." She didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Evan thought of the poison, the wound, the chains. He thought of her sleeping beside his door like someone who didn't know what safety meant. Kara finally looked at him, her eyes soft with pain. "No one has ever defended me before. No one ever cared if I lived or died. But you stand in front of guns for me. You gave me water. You gave me shelter. You looked at me like I was not a weapon." Evan felt something shift inside him. "Because you're not a weapon. You're someone who deserves a life." Kara stared at him as if she didn't believe such things existed. Like no one had ever said those words to her. But the moment didn't last. A booming voice echoed across the ranch. "Kara Vex." Evan and Kara both stiffened. "I know you're in there. Come out or I tear the human apart, piece by piece." Kara's eyes widened with fear, real fear, not for herself, but for him. Evan grabbed her shoulder gently. "Don't listen. They're trying to break you." Kara shook her head. "Evan, the warlord's right-hand commander is here. He's the one who gave me this wound. He has the poison that weakens my kind. If he finds you, he will kill you without hesitation." Evan stepped closer, refusing to back down. "Then we fight together." Like yesterday, Kara looked away, ashamed. "I didn't want you to know my past. I didn't want you to know I was someone's slave." Evan lifted her chin with his rough, gentle hand. "Your past isn't the problem. The people chasing you are, and they're not taking you." Her breath caught for a moment. Evan's voice grew stronger. "And Kara, no one owns you now." Before she could reply, the barn door exploded inward. A huge armored commander stepped inside, glowing blade ready. Kara raised her pistols. Evan raised his shotgun. The truth had been revealed, and the war for Kara's freedom had officially begun. The barn filled with smoke and splinters as the armored commander stepped inside. He was massive, almost twice the size of a normal alien soldier. His armor glowed with red symbols, and a long, curved blade hummed with deadly energy in his hand. His eyes burned like fire. "Kara Vex," he growled, his voice deep like thunder. "Your master wants you returned. Alive. Broken. But alive." Kara stood in front of Evan instantly, protecting him with her own body. Her pistols rose with dangerous precision. "I have no master," she said coldly. The commander laughed. "You cannot erase what you are. You belong to him. You were made to obey. You were trained to kneel." Kira's jaw tightened, and her fingers curled around her pistols. She looked like she wanted to scream, but she didn't. She pushed the fear deep inside her, and stood tall. Evan stepped beside her. "She belongs to no one," he said. "Not anymore." The commander turned his giant head toward Evan. "A human rancher dares speak," he mocked. "I will crush you first. Then collect her body." He lunged. Kara shoved Evan aside, and the commander's blade sliced through the air where Evan had been standing only a heartbeat ago. Kara fired several shots, sparks flying from the commander's armor, but he kept advancing. Evan scrambled to grab his shotgun again. "Kara, move!" Evan shouted. She dove to the left, rolling across the dusty barn floor as the commander slammed his blade into the ground, leaving a burning scar. Kara fired again, aiming for weak spots in the armor. Her shots cracked the shoulder plate and left a deep burn on his thigh. "You fight well," the commander growled, "but your strength is fading. The poison I carved into you is working." Kara staggered for a moment. Her wound pulsed with bright blue light. She clenched her teeth and forced herself back up. Evan felt fear twist in his chest. Kara was strong, but she was hurt, and this monster knew it. "Kara, fall back," Evan shouted, but the commander charged again, faster than someone his size should move. Kara barely dodged the blade. Evan fired his shotgun, hitting the commander in the helmet. The alien stumbled back, surprised. "You dare!" he roared. "Yes," Evan answered, pumping another shell into his shotgun. "This is my ranch, and she's under my protection." The commander lunged at Evan this time. Kara didn't think she threw herself between them. The blade cut across her arm, sending a shockwave of pain through her body. "Kara!" Evan shouted. Blood-bright blue ran down her arm, but she didn't stop. She jumped onto the commander's back, locking her legs around his thick neck and firing point-blank into his helmet. The visor shattered. The commander roared, thrashing, slamming his back against wooden beams to shake her off. The entire barn shook. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The building groaned like it was ready to collapse. "Kara, get down!" Evan yelled. Kara pushed off the commander's back, flipping through the air and landing near Evan, but she collapsed to one knee, gripping her ribs. The poison streaks had grown darker, crawling up her neck, her face. "Kara, you need help," Evan said, trying to lift her. She shook her head. "Not yet. Not until he falls." The commander's red eyes burned with fury as he removed his shattered helmet. His face was brutal, scarred, monstrous, full of hate. "You embarrass me, Kara Vex," he snarled. "You should have died the day you rebelled." Kara raised her pistols with shaking hands. "I didn't die," she whispered. "I escaped." The commander took a heavy step forward. Evan looked around desperately. He needed something, anything to help her. Then he saw it. Hanging from the barn beams was a heavy metal hook attached to a long chain. "Perfect," he whispered. Evan grabbed the chain, climbed an old wooden ladder, and positioned himself above the commander. "Kara," Evan shouted, "get him under me." Kara didn't understand, but she trusted him. She fired several shots at the commander's legs, forcing him to charge at her. She backed up, step by step, leading him exactly where Evan needed him to be. Now, Evan shouted. Kara dove aside. The commander looked up too late. Evan kicked the release lever. The heavy metal hook dropped. It slammed into the commander's back, smashing him to the ground. Dust exploded everywhere. The commander roared in rage, trapped under the metal weight. Kara limped forward, raising her pistols one last time. "This ends now," she said. The commander tried to lift his blade, but he was pinned. "Your master will come," he growled. "Let him," Kara whispered, and she fired. The blast echoed through the barn, and the commander went still. Kara fell to her knees, breathing hard, her body trembling. Evan rushed to her side. "Kara, stay with me," he said. She looked at him with weak, tired eyes. "Evan, the warlord knows where I am now. He will come for me himself." Evan held her tightly. "Then he'll face both of us." Kara's eyes softened, for the first time. She let herself lean into his arms. Outside, the hunters regrouped. Inside, Kara's past finally caught up with her, and the greatest threat was still on its way. The sun was sinking behind the hills when the warlord finally arrived. Not with noise, not with shouting, but with a silence so heavy that even the wind stopped. Evan felt it first, a pressure in the air, like the world itself was holding its breath. Kara, weak and bleeding, felt it too. Her eyes snapped open and furial fear flashed across her face. "He's here," she whispered. Evan helped her stand, but she pushed away gently, shaking her head. "Stay behind me, Kara. You can barely move. I will not let him take you too," she said softly. Then a deep, metallic hum rolled across the ranch. A massive ship descended from the skydark. Sharp, shaped like a predator with wings spread wide. It crushed the earth when it landed. The hunters bowed. The ground trembled. The warlord stepped out. He was taller than any soldier they had seen. His armor was carved with gold and black symbols. A long red cape trailed behind him. His helmet was shaped like the skull of some ancient beast. But the worst part was the coldness. There was no emotion in his steps, no hesitation, no mercy. He walked as if the world belonged to him. Evan felt his stomach twist. This was not just an enemy. This was a ruler of fear. When the warlord removed his helmet, the hunters dropped to their knees. His face was pale gray, marked with old battle scars. Eyes like burning iron stared directly at Kara. "Kara Vex," he said, his voice deep, calm, deadly. "My runaway blade." Kara stood straighter, even though she trembled. "I am not yours anymore." The warlord tilted his head. "You were born mine, trained by me, marked by me. You exist because I shaped you. You are my creation." Evan stepped forward. "She's not a tool. She's not property. She's a person, and she doesn't belong to you." Every hunter raised a gun at Evan instantly. The warlord lifted one finger, and they froze. He studied Evan with cold interest. A human protecting a weapon. Strange. Humans usually fear my kind. "I don't fear you," Evan said through clenched teeth. The warlord smiled. "You should." Kara took a shaky step forward. "Leave him out of this. Your fight is with me." "Yes," the warlord said. "So come here. Kneel, and I will spare him." Kara flinched. Her breath caught. Her body shook in a way Evan had never seen. She had been trained to kneel. Ordered to kneel. Forced to kneel her whole life. Evan whispered urgently, "Kara, don't." Her eyes filled with pain. "If I don't, he will kill you." "No," Evan said firmly. "He'll kill both of us anyway if you kneel. He is lying. He just wants to break you." The warlord laughed softly. The human knows nothing of my mercy. Because you have none? Evan shot back. The warlord's smile vanished. Enough talking. He raised his hand. A long black spear formed out of crackling red energy. It was silent but deadly, glowing hotter with each second. Kara raised her pistols, but her hands shook. The poison had spread across her shoulder, up her neck. She tried to aim, but her vision blurred. The warlord spoke quietly, like giving a final command. Kara Vex. Kneel. She froze. Her pistols slipped from her fingers. Her knees started to bend. No, Evan shouted. He grabbed her, pulling her back. Kara, look at me. Not him. Look at me. Kara's breath shook. Her eyes darted between Evan and the warlord. Her body fought against itself, memories pulling her down. Evan's voice holding her up. You are free, Evan whispered. No one owns you. Not anymore. Stand with me. Kara clenched her jaw, stood straight again. The warlord's eyes narrowed. So be it. He hurled the spear. It flew like lightning. Evan pushed Kara aside and rolled across the dirt. The spear hit the ground, exploding in red flames. Kara grabbed her pistols, panting hard. Evan, run. I'm not leaving you, he said. The warlord summoned another spear. Then you die with her. Kara fired 3 shots, then 5, chitting the warlord's armor. Sparks flew, but he kept walking steadily forward. Evan reloaded his shotgun and fired at the warlord's leg. The blast shook the warlord slightly, but not enough. The warlord swung his spear downward, aiming for Evan. Kara screamed his name and jumped forward, kicking the spear aside with the last of her strength. The warlord backhanded her. She flew several feet, crashing into the dirt. Kara, Evan shouted, running toward her. She struggled to rise, but her body was failing. The warlord raised his spear for the killing blow. Evan stepped between them, shotgun aimed at the warlord's heart. You want her? Evan said, voice shaking. You go through me. The warlord paused. A human farmer, defending one of my strongest weapons. He lowered the spears slightly. Interesting. He pointed at Kara with a cold smile. Then we duel. You and me. Evan's blood ran cold, but he didn't step back. Kara grabbed his hand weakly. Evan, he will kill you. Evan squeezed her hand. He'll have to earn it. The warlord spread his arms. The hunters formed a wide circle. The duel for Kara's freedom and Evan's life was about to begin. The sun had fully set, and the ranch stood under a broken purple sky filled with smoke, dust, and the smell of battle. Evan faced the warlord inside a wide circle formed by the hunters. Kara lay on the ground at the edge, her body weak, her wound burning bright blue. She wanted to stand, wanted to fight, wanted to help him, but she could not move. The warlord held his red energy spear, burning with dark power. Evan held only his shotgun, old, dented, nearly empty. The difference between them looked impossible. Kara watched helplessly as the duel began. The warlord struck first. A blazing spear swing tore the air apart, and Evan barely rolled away in time. The ground where he stood a second earlier exploded in red sparks. Evan felt the heat burn his back, but he kept running, searching for openings. The hunters howled with excitement, chanting the warlord's name. Kara felt her heart twist. Evan, please don't die, she whispered. The warlord attacked again, this time with a long thrust aimed at Evan's chest. Evan blocked it with the wooden handle of his shotgun, but the wood cracked instantly. The warlord kicked him hard, sending him flying across the dirt. Evan coughed and forced himself up. Kara, he whispered, I'm not giving up. Not while you're here. Kara's eyes filled with tears. She had never cried, not once in her life, of battle, but now tears fell because a simple, Hume Rancher was fighting a monster just to keep her free. The warlord approached Evan slowly. "You cannot win," he said calmly. "I don't need to win," Evan replied. "I just need to protect her." This made the warlord pause for a moment, confused. No one had ever spoken such foolish bravery in front of him. Evan suddenly sprinted to the broken barn wall where metal scraps lay. He grabbed a long iron pole and swung it like a spear. The warlord blocked the strike icily, but looked surprised by Evan's speed. "You fight." "Differently," the warlord muttered. "I fight for someone," Evan answered. The warlord roared and slammed his spear into the ground. A shockwave shot forward. Evan jumped aside, but the blast still hit him, knocking him onto his knees. Kara cried out, "Evan!" Evan tried to push himself up, but his arms trembled. The warlord stepped closer, raising his spear for the final blow. Kara's heart broke. She screamed, "No!" and forced her body to move, crawling toward him even as pain tore through her side. Evan looked back at her bruised, bleeding, barely standing, and something inside him surged. A force he didn't understand. A strength born from love, from fury, from the will to protect someone who had never been protected before. Evan grabbed the iron pole again and stood tall. The warlord attacked, swinging his spear with deadly power. Evan blocked it, sparks flying as metal crashed against glowing energy. The pole bent, Evan's arm shook, but he did not break. Kara pushed herself to her feet, swaying but still standing. Seeing her stand gave Evan one last burst of strength. He twisted his body, dodged the warlord's strike, and slammed the iron pole directly into the warlord's shoulders, the same weak spot Kara had hit earlier in the barn fight. The armor cracked. The warlord staggered. Kara shouted, his left side, "Evan! The armor is weakest there." Evan charged with all the strength he had left. He slammed the pole again and again into the warlord's weak shoulder. The warlord roared, raising his spear, but Kara fired her pistol, her last shot hitting the warlord's hand. The spear dropped. Evan didn't waste a second. He grabbed the spear, turned it, and drove it deep into the warlord's chest. The warlord froze his eyes wide in disbelief. Then his body fell onto the dirt with a heavy, final thud. The hunters gasped in terror. They looked at each other, then at the fallen warlord, then at Evan and Kara. Without their master, they backed away. Some fled, some vanished into the night. Within minutes, the ranch became quiet again. Evan dropped the spear, breathing hard, barely conscious. Kara ran to him, falling to her knees beside him. She touched his face gently. "Evan, you're alive. You're alive." He smiled weakly. "Told you. We fight together." She lifted him softly, tears falling onto his shirt. "You risked your life for me?" "Why? I am just a broken fighter." "No," Evan whispered. "You're someone who deserves peace." Kara lowered her forehead to his. "No one ever gave me peace. No one ever cared if I was safe. No one ever looked at me like I mattered." Evan brushed a thumb across her cheek. "You matter to me." Her heart felt something unfamiliar: warmth, safety, love. Not the forced obedience she'd known, but real connection. Evan stood slowly with her help. The ranch was damaged, but it was still standing. Kara looked around, then looked back at him. "What now?" she whispered. Evan smiled softly. "Now, if you want, you can stay. Not as a runaway, not as a weapon, not as property, but as someone free." Kara's breath trembled. She stepped closer, and she placed her hand gently on his chest. "If you still want a wife," she whispered, voice shaking, "I want to be that." Evan's heart almost stopped. "Really?" Kara nodded slowly. "You gave me my freedom. You gave me a home. You gave me a reason to choose my own life." She lifted his hand and placed it over her heart. "And I choose you." Evan held her close, finally letting the fear fade. Kara leaned into him, finally letting herself feel safe. Under the broken sky surrounded by the ruins of a battle, they survived together. Kara Vex, the most feared alien gunslinger, became something new, not a prisoner. Not an outlaw, not a weapon, but the bride who chose to stay. The woman who found her home. And the partner who had finally found her freedom in the arms of a human. The ranch, once lonely, now had two hearts beating inside it, and a future that belonged to both of them.